so here we go with 4-1 answers, and then I'm going to try to just give you a little bit of quiz insight into just how to study for these if it hasn't become explicitly clear yet. Some quizzes are easier, some quizzes are harder. I was hoping this would be an easier one, but if you haven't quite picked up on how to do this yet, here's like how you should do it. So I told you coming in there were going to be 10 points, all fill-ins. On page 77, what would be the most likely word to appear as an answer to a fill-in? Angle. Why would angle be the most likely word to appear as a fill-in? It's in blue and it's in italics. And the answer to number 1 was angle. What's the next word that we encounter that's like that? And the next answer to number 2 is sides. What's the next word like that?
Vertex.
Vertex. And the answer to number 3
Vertex.
is vertex. Are there any more like that on 77? No. So let's go 78. Anything quite like that on 78? No. Might some stuff on 78 matter like in the long run?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should you read it? Yeah. But is it going to be as important as those 3 words from 77? No. 79.
Yes.
Yep. Interior, that's number 4. Exterior, that's number 5. Keep scanning.
Triangle.
Triangle, that's number 6.
Vertices.
Vertices, that's 7.
Sides.
Sides, that's 8.
Angles.
Angles, that's 9.
Perimeter.
That's 10. And then if you flip the page and kept reading, why didn't I do interior, exterior from 80?
Because it's already.
Yeah, we already sort of did those on the other sections, so it wasn't really worth a double dip. I'm never looking for you to read this and like memorize the section. What I'm trying to motivate you to do is read it so I don't have to explain this thing from scratch. I'd rather reinforce than be the entire show. And you're going to learn better that way. If you learn a little bit and then I clean it up for you a little bit more, it's just going to sink in a little deeper and maybe grow some roots there. So I'm not ever looking for you to memorize. I'm looking for you to capture the main ideas. But anytime I'm telling you, hey, there's so many fill-ins, almost every time over the course of these first 4 chapters, the answers you're filling in have almost always been the italic blue words. Now, not every time, but that's a lot of the time. But that's just advice on how to study for this. You want to hit the highlights, and you just want to make sure if it's a blue italic word, you're ready enough to like probably fill that in a blank somewhere based on the surrounding scenery. Yeah, so I'll go through one more time. So the answers we're hoping for is angles, sides, vertex, interior, exterior, triangle, vertices, sides, angles, perimeter, and then we just sort of call it a day. So as we step into tomorrow, there's a 4-2 preparation sheet there in your hands. So when you read 4-2, you're going to have 2 new postulates that you're going to have to just say the sentence. So you'll either prepare or you won't. There's not much doubt about what that is. You'll see because they're just like, it's the 2 shorter ones. But 2 postulates, you're just going to have to do the sentence because the sentence is a little shorter and doesn't have like a ton of math symbols in it. Then there's 5 fill-ins. The fill-ins will be from other things in this. It might be the postulates, it might be from definitions. There's a little bit more mystery to this than there was to today's. It isn't as easy to get like what the words would be out of 4-2 as it is out of 4-1. It's not just filling in the blank 10 times in a row with blue italics. But there will be 5 fill-ins, there will be 2 postulates. It's always a good idea to know the names of the postulates. So I'll throw that tip out there. Anything with a postulate, know its name. Because if I ask you to tell me the whatever postulate and you didn't know it was called that, that's hard. Or if I ask you to fill in the blank with a name and you don't know the name, that's also then impossible. But there's 4 postulates, know the names of them. 2 of them you'll have to just say the sentence. The other ones will be a little bit of fill-in along with the fill-in club. Compared to today's, let's just sort of fill the rest of these in. You could look at the Today quiz and help you fill in the 4-2 if you want. But on the 8 to 11 section, an angle is the blank. Anybody have a word you feel good about there? Union is correct. Of blank.
Rays.
How many? Two rays, which have the same endpoint, but do not lie on the same line. So 8 to 11, tomorrow we're filling in an angle as the union, meaning put it together, of two rays, which have the same endpoint, but do not lie on the same line. Well, that's fresh on our mind. Picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, picture 4. Somebody weigh in on, yes, that is a picture of an angle. No, that is not a picture of an angle because of the way the definition said things need to be.
3 is not an angle.
Why is 3 not an angle? Because it sure did have two rays.
But it's on a line.
It's on a line. You're not allowed to be on a line. So that is not a picture of an angle, even though it's two rays.
4 is not an angle.
Why is 4 not an angle?
2 segments.
Those are two segments. Those aren't two rays. Okay, an angle has to be two rays, not on a line, have the same endpoint. So how about pictures 1 and 2?
Yes.
Yes. How about picture 5?
Yes.
Yes. So we're good on all of that. 12, I'll ask you, what are the sides of the angle? So that's opposite of how it was today. That's the two rays. So number 12, we'll say the two rays. This is called a side. This is called a side. Every angle has two sides. The rays are called the sides. 13, what is the vertex? It is the common endpoint. So right here, this pointy thing that could poke your eye out, that's called the vertex. The endpoint where those rays are meeting is called the vertex. 14, we're still just filling in the blank. Is that one the interior or is that one the exterior? That is the interior there for 14. If I go to the picture, for what common sense reason in the picture world would this be the area that's the interior of the angle?
Because they're just going, it's like, that's in between both of them.
That's true. What's another synonym for interior?
Inside.
It's like inside. It's inside the angle. If this is like a Pac-Man eating mouth or something, it's inside there. And then if I go to the other side of the interior, that's the exterior. I imagine this will probably come up in the homework. Anybody have a theory? Is the angle itself part of the interior? Is the angle part of the exterior? Or is the angle itself in a club of its own? It's a club of its own, is correct. It's kind of like, what could you make an analogy to of another thing that's in a club of its own? Zero. Like there's positives, there's negatives, zero is just a separator. There's interior, there's exterior, the angle itself is just a separator. It's not really in either club. Question about angle words. So then we'll play the same game on triangles. So if I tell you you have 3 non-collinear points, what this definition started doing is basically playing connect the dots. It said we're going to make these segments, and that forms fill in the blank with the word triangle today. When we go reversal tomorrow, 15's group, a triangle is the union again. Anytime we're putting stuff together, taking little shapes, making big shapes, that's the union of not 2 rays anymore, but what's going on in that?
3 segments.
The 3 segments that are,
Not on a line.
yeah, let's use one word for that. That phrase would be okay. Not on a line is fine, but what word can we use? Non-collinear. They're non-collinear, and they intersect only at their
Ends.
endpoints. So 15 to 18, the triangle is the union of 3 segments that are non-collinear, and they intersect only at their endpoints. The sides are these 3 things, but what I'm going to look for you to do on the quiz thing tomorrow is give them names. What's the names of what's the name of one of the sides? AB, and how could we punctuate that? Put the little segment hat on it. So segment AB is one of the sides. What's another side?
Segment BC.
Segment BC. And I'm sorry, I'm doing 20 right now, I skipped a question. The sides for 20 would be segment AB, segment BC, and also
Segment AC.
segment AC. So a list of 3 segments with the segment hats for 20. Double back to 19. Vertices, the plural of vertex is vertexes or vertices, whichever one you like. I did vertices here. What are the vertices? A, B, and C. This point at that corner is a vertex. This is a vertex. This is a vertex. So we're just going to make a list. A, comma, B, comma, C. Those 3 points are the 3 vertices of that triangle. The angles, we're going to make a list. What would be this angle's name?
It would be angle A.
That's angle A.
Angle B.
That's angle B.
Angle C.
That's angle C. What's the symbol for angle naming? Yeah, it looks almost like the less than sign. It's just standing a little bit more upright. So like angle A, angle B, angle C. That's a list of the 3 names of the angles. Perimeter.
Sum of all the sides.
Let's get one word in there.
Sum of the length of all
There we
the
go. It's the
sides.
sum of the length of the sides. If you don't want to write out the word length, feel free to draw a cursive L. That's a pretty universal abbreviation in math for length. It's just a cursive L. So if you want to draw a cursive L instead of writing the word length, feel free. But it's the sum of the lengths of the sides. And then let's come back for 23. Let's come back for 24 after I've done a little bit of stuff on the board. So I'm going to stroll left. I drew you an angle here. This angle has a lot of names. Can somebody give me one name of this angle? Anybody? No, based on like A's, B's, C's, it's going to have a name. Could be called angle B. I agree with that. Could somebody give me another name that this angle could be called?
Angle B, A, C.
Disagree, but it is a 3-letter name.
ABC.
ABC would work. Another name would work.
CBA.
CBA would work. What has to be true about the name game?
Is it like the common point is supposed to be in the middle?
The common point's got to be in the middle. What's that common point called? Vertex. The vertex has to be the middle letter. And then how about the other letters? One from
Each side.
each side. So if I draw you a more complicated picture, I'm not going to do all the names of all of the angles on this, it'd be too long. But what would be one name I could give this angle?
C.
C. If I do a 3-letter name, what will every 3-letter name have in common?
C.
In the
Middle.
middle. And then for the other letters, we have to choose
From other
One
side.
from each side.
one from each side. So what would be a name we could call this that has C in the middle?
BD. BD.
Well, it's got to have a C in there.
GCB.
DCB would work. DCB would work because I have one letter from each side, C's in the middle.
ACD?
ACD would work.
ACB.
ACE would work.
BCE?
BCE would work. Those all work. And I could take any of these, and I could, if I want to, just put them, any of them, backward, and we'd still be fine. I don't know that we had any that we even had done that yet. But we could sit here and list names for this pretty long. It would be a while, I don't want to. Okay, but if you're doing 1-letter names, it has to be the vertex letter. If it's 3-letter names, the vertex letter goes in the middle, and then one from each side. So let's go back to the quiz. When we go to do 23, if I'm saying I have angle BAC, what would the vertex be? A, because it's the letter that was in the middle. If I want another name for angle def,
Angle E?
angle E would work.
FED.
Angle fed would work, either one. Make sure you use the angle symbol on 24, just like we use the angle symbol on 21, just like we use the segment hat on 20, just like we use no punctuation on 19. Points don't get punctuation, segments get hats, angles get the angle symbol. So you got 17 completely under your control, dominate the 17. The other 7 you got to read a little bit to solve the mystery of what 2 postulates do you need the sentence for, what do the 5 fill-ins look like. Well, that gets us a pretty good footing into the 4-2 quiz.
What were 23?
23 was A, because it's the middle letter. 24 is angle E, because it's the middle letter, or angle FED, just name it backwards. Question about things? Yep.
Is 19 was that?
19 was A, B, and C, just in a list, like A, comma, B, comma, C. Each of those 3 are each of our tests.
And what is 17?
17, I'll just read the whole sentence there. Triangle was the union of 3 segments that are non-collinear, and they intersect only at the endpoints.
What would the SAT things score
Generally, SATs go as high as 800. For some reason, the PSAT on that sheet only went to 760. Question about quiz prep. Okay, a couple more notes that help you do the homework. Speaking of homework, it's on page 80, so page 80 tonight's part of the deal. If I point to this picture, how many angles are present in that picture?
2.
3?
It is 3. Sometimes people will look at that and only think that there's 2. How's there 3?
Because NAE is also 1.
Yeah, there's like an upstairs half that makes an angle with those 2 rays. There's a downstairs half that makes an angle with those 2 rays. But then these 2 rays, if the angle ate the whole picture, there is a 3rd angle in there. You could not, for the upper angle, just call it angle A. Why in a picture like this can't I just start talking about angle A?
Because all 3 of them could be angle A.
All 3 of them are angle A. The angle upstairs is an angle at A. The angle downstairs is an angle at A. The angle that ate the whole thing is an angle at A. I need to do a 3-letter name on that. So a few minutes ago, people might have been wondering, why would I ever do a 3-letter name if I can just do a 1-letter name every time? The answer is you can't do a 1-letter name every time. If I create a crowded area, you have to do 3-letter names. So what would be a name of the upstairs angle in that picture?
NAT.
NAT. What would be another perfectly good answer for the upstairs?
TAN.
Yeah. How about if I look at the downstairs half? What would be an angle of the downstairs half?
EAT.
EAT. I'd probably pick that one myself because it spells work. What would be every bit as good of a name?
TAN.
All I'd ask you is on an occasion in this year, sometimes if you go and don't pay attention to what you're doing, you can spell bad words. So just don't spell bad words. Okay? There is for sure a day this year that SSA is what the preferred answer is, and you don't want to spell that backwards for obvious reasons. If I wanted the total big angle, what would the total big angle be?
NAE.
NAE would work. What did I just do wrong on purpose?
You didn't draw the angle.
I didn't draw the angle sign. So angles, make sure we do the little angle signs. What would be just as good of an answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. If the homework asks you to give a name, do you have to do the doubles?
No.
No, just give it a name. But if it says give every possible name, then you have to sit there in some sort of orderly way and do that. You know, if I just say what's a name for that guy, you just give me one name. But if it says give me every name you know for that guy, you've got to give all the aliases. This picture, I didn't draw rays, so they may draw you a picture like this, and I'm not sure how they'll ask the question. They should probably ask something like how many angles are determined, or how many angles are implied, or something like that. In this picture, how many angles are present there? Even though the rays aren't there, if I did decide to make them rays, how many angles are like created by this shape? I'd say more than 3.
4?
How 4?
Because the line on the outside makes like a
There's one
ABD.
outside the triangle, and then there's
3 inside.
3 inside. So this actually has 4 angles, 3 in and 1 out. How many of those 4 could you do with a single letter name, because it isn't very crowded there? 2. Which 2 could you go single letter?
D and C.
Okay, angle D, we could call this right here angle D, because there's only 1 angle up there. Who else did you get? C. Angle C, you could do a 1-letter name, because angle C, there's not a crowd, there's only 1 angle over here. But angle B, there's one that headed to the right, there's another one that headed left outside the triangle. What would be the name of the one that's in there?
DBC.
DBC. Or if you wanted to, name it backwards. And who's that outside angle?
ABD.
ABD. Or name it backwards. That's the kind of thing you'll do in the homework. I know there's some questions like, is this an angle, yes or no? I know there's some that they're like, name me all the angles. There's some questions about sides and vertices and things like that. But page 80 is trying to just practice these words. So one more time, grand total. 4-2 quiz is mostly in your hands. Just read 4-2 to solve the mystery of what will go in that empty space. Page 80 is the homework. And that's basically a day. Yep.
For the fill in the blanks, is everything that's just going to be popular?
There's going to be 4 postulates. And then there's a few words that are definition type words, like how we had today, like blue italics. So blue italic stuff is going to create some fill-ins, but also the postulate themselves will create some fill-ins as well.
Like all 4 of them are going to be on there?
Every postulate will in some way make the quiz, yeah. So if it's a shorter sentence, you're just going to say the sentence. If it's a longer thing, then I'm going to have you fill in the blank somewhere, whether it's the name of it or whether it's like a key word within the middle